My favorite time of the week.
We always start laughing hysterically. I think yes. I think
My
that is a thing.
favorite time of the week.
Nice.
I
Me
love-
too. We have 2 things today.
We do.
They're awesome.
Well, are you talking about what we do previous to this?
No.
Oh, well, today in particular, yes, this
Yes.
afternoon.
Yes, we have our EBM meeting today.
Yes, and for those that aren't familiar with what that is, the Empire Builders Masterclass is Honore's Masterclass.
Mastermind.
Or Mastermind, sorry. I'm over here reading the logo over your head. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mastermind is Honore's Mastermind program, and it is amazing. So if you're not in it, look at an application.
You made the face. What's the face? Remember the face from Sex and the City? Oh, you're the one that dated Aiden before me, right? And she made the face. What's the face?
So I don't see that as a Sex and the City reference because I never watched it.
Well, I would imagine not. I would imagine not. Yeah.
It's just different crowd.
Different crowd. Hello, Jen.
Hello,
Jen. From you know where. Good evening from you know where.
Oh, this is Egypt.
And then there's a camel. I love that. I like that. Like, yes, tell us who you are with an emoji. Tell us who you are without telling us who you are. So who are you? If you're watching, and put your emoji in the chat and we'll see if we can, and Jen gets the reference. You know the face, right, Jen? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I was too busy doing other stuff when the Sex and the City thing was going on. It just wasn't, my cup of tea. That's all.
Right. Well, I don't think you were the avatar.
No, I'm pretty sure I was definitely not.
The avatar, although there was a lot of nakedness.
I'm hearing that.
So it might have been maybe not the story, but the skin exposure portions might have been your cup of tea or brandy or cosmopolitan or whatever. How are you? What's new in your world? What's going on with you?
Oh boy. Got a couple of really cool projects in the hopper. I'm launching my Monetize Your Book with a Course community this weekend.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a soft launch going on. I'm going to reach out to the art first, in particular, my loyal reviewers on Amazon, to offer them something special.
Awesome.
And then just start, keep the wheels turning on all the other writing projects right now. So I've got the Course Pricing Strategies book. Oh.
All right. So we have
Satorus.
So is that Greece?
It's got to be Greece.
It's got to be Greece, especially with that cool name. So Taurus Galanis is what you do for money in my head with that cool name is you are the hunky star of Harlequin romance novels.
Well, hey now.
I mean, what a great name.
So there you go. That's what you're doing from now on, dude. I don't know what your real job is.
I don't know what your real job is. You have a new job. Yes, correct. Wait, were we correct on Greece or were we correct on the profession? I think there's a delay. And so is he still watching? That's the question. It's like, let me watch this live. Okay, disconnect. All right. So Paris, please let us know if we're saying your name correctly and if we have accurately described your profession, or tell us what you do.
Jen says we're extra fiery today. Well, you are.
Yeah.
That's because it's been a really good day. And it's a cranking week. I mean, we were just talking about before this. I mean, I'm talking about my couple of book projects. You're working on your next release on the admin side while you're still writing one for release after that.
Yeah.
Can we talk about those? Are we allowed to mention
We can. Oh, sure. So write your first nonfiction book, A Primer for Aspiring Authors, comes June 26th. And so I have been looking for advanced readers. And so if you go to my profile on LinkedIn or Facebook, you'll see a place to opt in for the advanced reader team if you are so inclined. And then I am writing my January 24 book, You Must Monetize Your Book. And then also some fiction. So I figured out how I can write fiction and travel all over the world and write off the trips. So I'm feeling pretty smart.
Research.
Obviously. Obviously.
Well, you're going to want to do
Paris to write about Paris. I have to write about Milan to write about, go to Milan to write about Milan. Obviously. Very important.
Well, definitely prioritize that with your fiction books and not Byron's, because Byron's you'll be stuck in DC if you go with Byron's.
Right. Well, I'm going to do domestic settings also, and I'll set one in DC just so we can both write it off. Right. And then we can argue over who pays for what. This dinner is research for my book.
There you go.
That hotel is research for your book. So that's what I'm working on. And on a personal note, if anyone who follows me knows about Mr. Pickles, my senior kitty. And so he has cancer, and now he has a second cancer location. And so we have the impossible decision of, do we put him under and have it removed, which could kill him, or do we leave it where it is, which could kill him? And so that's, empire building is not without its personal challenges. Mr. Pickles' paw has a mass on it, and I didn't even know what was going on there. So we had that looked at. So they're like, well, we have to remove his paw. Like, how do you remove a cat's paw? Like, what is that? What are we doing there? So anyway.
Oh, poor Mr. Pickles. He's the sweetest cat.
Pickles, and he's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. He was having a blast last week, just cuddling on everybody. And was that David who he was like just?
Oh yeah. David's not even a cat person, and he wouldn't get off of David. That was so funny. Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, he's extra lovey since he had his first cancerous lesion removed. He will not get out of my lap. If I sit on the couch, even for 4 seconds, he's like, boom, in my lap. So now I have to do all the preparation. It's like, okay, I got to have my Kindle. I got to have something to drink. I got to have a snack. I got to have a blanket. I have to have gone to the restroom because it could be hours.
As Helen would say, all the things.
All the things. She says it now. It's a very American thing you say. Where is Helen?
I don't know. I was picking on her, hoping that I could conjure her, right? Like she would just magically appear in the chat.
Helen. How are you? Yeah.
We're doing it all wrong. We have to say, hello. Like,
That's right.
Then it goes all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, lands in her ear in England.
Helen, where are you? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar situation, although I think our numbers are inverted. You're getting ready to release one nonfiction. You're writing another nonfiction, and then you've got one fiction in a. Is it going to be? Can I ask? Is it a series? Is it going to be an individual fiction?
Well, I think I'm going to do a serial series.
There you go.
Yeah. So same character. So instead of writing a novel, I'm going to write a serial, and every serial will have me in a different place. Me meaning the main character, which I'm not the main character, but because I don't do what the main character does.
Are you writing it in first person?
I don't know.
Oh, that's tricky.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, the whole serial thing's exciting. I'm taking a stab at that this fall. Hopefully it works out for me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think, I think it's just the beginning of a new adventure, and it's a new skill set. And so I don't have too much, I'm not putting any pressure on myself. I want to just make it fun. I think fiction, like language learning, I decided to take the pressure out of it and just have fun, because I find a lot of people will say, oh, I understand French or I understand Spanish, but I don't speak it because I don't speak it perfectly. I don't speak it well. And here's something funny. Speaking of Mr. Pickles, I had him at the vet one day, and I heard these people speaking French behind me. And if you don't know me, and this is your first visit with us, welcome. We're so glad you're here. I live in a small town in Tennessee. And so the number of French speakers in my town is probably not very many. So there's this guy, and he's talking to two older people. They're his parents, and they're from Paris. He's from Paris. He lives and works here in Tennessee, in Nashville. And they are speaking French. And so I turn around and I start speaking French. So a couple of weeks ago when I was in the vet, they were like, so what do you do? Because like we always take our pets to the vet and we're always there during the day. And they're always like, is Tuesday at 4 o'clock okay? And we're like, yep. Whereas most people are like, oh, I'm working or I'm not available that time, whatever. We're like, yep, no problem. And so they're like, what do you do? Because vet visits are not free, as it turns out. And I was like, oh, I'm a writer. And they were like, we were wondering if you did something with French because you're so fluent in French. And I literally started laughing. I was like, oh, bless, right? It might have sounded good to you. I'm not sure that the French people were impressed, but I find that if I don't put too much pressure, right, on my language learning, like I'm not putting pressure on my fiction, that I will enjoy it more. And I want it to just be something that I really enjoy because I have a number of friends who are very successful, but they put so much pressure on themselves to write the next book, and they've lost the fun that they had when they were first starting. And I think that that's true with empire building. I think it's true with starting a business. I think it's true with anything that you do that's new, that you're not quite as adept at or as fluid with as you are other things that you've been doing a long time. And I think releasing the pressure allows you to be more successful faster.
Right. Well, and a lot of that
it has to work and it has to work today. I don't think that works very well.
Yeah. And the definition of what's, considered successful or well or working when you first start out is different than what defines that for an established business. And I don't think it's realistic for people to expect to have the same results as someone who's been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, not just because of their capability, but because of the literal business they've built, sustaining itself in some ways based off of all the exposure, all the, great product development, all of the relationships, all the things. You can't possibly put that pressure on yourself to do that in the first year, 2, 3 years.
Right.
And I think that's why I was, super excited when you brought this topic up earlier in the week as a potential talking point for the live today. Is like, we were reflecting on the Empire Builders Masterclass and how we're having so much fun building this thing and how the foundation's in place and we're doing all the things. And we kind of had this moment where we both went, wow, could you imagine if we had put unrealistic expectations on ourselves? Like this would not feel like as much fun, right?
Right. And also, I think, we haven't even, take ourselves back a year. We haven't even had the first conversation about it yet.
Yeah. We're not even a year old. Yep.
We're not even a year old from the very first conversation where then we had to figure out documentation and splits and all that stuff. I don't think we signed documents till September, August, September. Right. So we are 9 months old officially.
How old are you? I'm this many.
I'm this many. And I see a lot of people, as do you, create something, launch something, and then within such a short period of time go, I'm not successful yet. I'm not selling anything yet. And I think I look back over all the things and I think some things have come together relatively quickly, but most things come together relatively slowly,
right,
over time.
Yep.
And I think that there are some elements to that are helpful to consider. And I thought we should probably talk about that because it always looks like, and people change their narrative sometimes to go, oh, I remember this from when I was in network marketing years and years ago. I remember there was a gentleman, and now his son is very famous. So I won't say his name. I used to be able to say his name, but now I don't say his name because his son is very famous. He's like made it onto TV and he's a well-known personality. But this guy was very successful in the business, and the business used to send out these cassette tapes every month so you could listen. So it was like the precursor to the podcast, right? So you get this cassette tape in the mail, and I'd put it in my little sporty Walkman. Remember the Walkman that was yellow because it was the sport version?
Yeah, it had the gray clasp.
Yep, it had the clasp over it.
Yeah.
With the wired headphones that you put over your head, right? Super, super cute. I'm sure I was super cute walking the streets of New York in my tennis shoes and my skirt after work, right? I'm painting the visual.
Looking like a tennis star.
What's that?
Looking like a tennis star.
Looking like a tennis star, yes. So I remember him saying, well, I was working in a gas station and I crawled into my car, and 18 months later I crawled out and I was successful. And I was like, what'd you do in your car?
Yeah.
What was happening in there?
It's right? A magic car.
And his first name is Roland. I was like, Roland, what are you doing in your car? Right. And so what he was getting at was that he had gone on this mission of 18 months, which PS, and by the way, was not super fast. Fast in terms of building a company or building a business. But what he did was he did what Tony Robbins recommends, which I don't think these two people were connected, but Tony Robbins would say, if somebody gets 10 years of experience by doing something once a month for 10 years, they do it 120 times. You can get 10 years worth of experience by doing something 120 times as fast as you can do it. So I think he crawled into his car and he had a bunch of opportunity meetings. He went into a bunch. There's Helen. There she is. We summoned her.
And she's on LinkedIn today.
Yeah. I love it. Helen, we were talking about you and to you earlier. We were trying to summon you to our party. So welcome. So I think what Roland did is he went and got 10 years worth of experience in 18 months. And he went from working at a gas station to building a super successful business. But I think what people do is they go, I am just not building, I'm not getting success fast enough. I'm not making enough money fast enough. And therefore I must be a failure, but they haven't set real expectations that take the pressure off. Because I think once you put the pressure on, then you get into scared energy, and scared energy doesn't make money. Scared money don't make money. Right. And, so there's that saying like scared money don't make money. And when you are in a place of scarcity, when you are in a place of lack, and when you need the money, people feel that.
Yep.
When you're like, I need the money. I really hope they say yes because I need the money. Like, you don't have to say anything, but your energy repels other people. The minute you can just go, everything's fine. I'm fine. It's going to be fine. It's not where I want it to be. Because I don't think the EBMC is where we envision that it will be. Not even close. No. Right? At some point, I'm going to be like, can you turn these notifications off? Because I can't get somebody bought a course notification 5 times an hour, Lucas. Like, how do we turn that off? Just let me know once a month how much money I'm getting. Right? So at some point, I'd like to be annoyed by the noise as I'm annoyed by the silence. Right? So I would like for there will be this natural progression of success, more and more course sales over time, more and more engagement in the community, all the things, right?
Right.
But we don't have that drumbeat of like, if we don't get a sale, then what are we going to do? Or when do we just go, time of death, May 11th, 11:21 a.m., right? It didn't work. We gave it 9 of the best months of our lives.
Yeah.
And now we're out. Forget it.
Your acting is phenomenal.
You like that?
I didn't know you had it in you.
Well, did you know I did 300 hours of on-camera training in New York?
That does not surprise me now that you say that.
And you've never seen me before, so that did not work out. It's a good thing I could type. It's a good thing I could type because not a person like I did a couple of things. But I was not I was never the cover girl.
You didn't get into like a Beans commercial or anything cool?
I didn't. Mm-mm. Nope.
Cereal commercials. Those were huge in the 80s and 90s. Not that you would have been in commercials in the 80s.
No, I honestly, I always thought that I was 5'9" and weighed 130 pounds and I needed to weigh 120 pounds. And right, I just did not have confidence. I did not have the confidence I needed to have. So, of course, I wasn't hired. That's just the truth. That is the honest truth. So good thing I could type and I was friendly, right? I was friendly in New York City. And so I was very popular as a temp because I would always say good morning. Yep. So we had a question in there. Let's see. Would you agree that success too quickly makes long-term success more difficult? No, I think it gives you a sign of what's possible. So my first book not the original book that I burned, but when I did it again and it was a quality book, I sold 11,000 copies in the 3 weeks that I was waiting for the first set of books to be delivered. Insane. And that happened because I called literally everyone and I asked them a question. Now, some people have sales aversion. And here's the real truth is if you create a product or a service, you're going to have to call people and ask them to buy it.
Right.
But because I had that background in network marketing and direct sales, and because I had been working on my confidence and my skills, when Mark Victor Hansen said, call everyone you know and ask them to buy between 10 and 100 books, I was like, okay. And I had a Rolodex. I had an actual Rolodex on my desk, like those little cards with people's numbers. And so I just started in the A's. I was like, hey, Lucas, it's Honore. I'm coming out with a new book. And it's great for companies with salespeople, people that want to be successful. And I was just calling to see if you'd like to buy between 10 and 100 copies. And then I got lazy because I was like, man, it could take me forever. So I added a 0. Would you like to buy between 100 and 1,000 copies?
So which one actually said yes? Was it 100 to 1,000 copies?
Yes.
Question, right?
Yes. And because by then I had sold some, so there were some people that were like, no, but I'll buy a copy from you.
Right.
Because when you say, will you buy between 10 and 100, they immediately go, well, I can't tell her I'm going to buy 0, I guess, right? The psychology is, I don't know what I would do with 10 books. I don't have 100 employees. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. And so I sold a lot of 1s, 3s, 5s, right? But then I sold 3,000. And then I sold another 3,000 because I had some good CEO clients who had sales forces and that kind of thing. So they were like, yeah, sure. We're having a conference. Can we put a little seal on them? I'm like, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
You can have a bonfire with them. You can give them away on a street corner. I don't care what happens to them, but you want to buy them. That's great. So I ordered 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. And once I got to 11,000 sold, then the books started showing up. Then the truck, the R&L truck with the green stripe on it, like that guy showed up with his pallet and he's like, beep, beep, beep. And then it hit me like, oh, I've sold 11,000 books and they're all right here.
Like I'm looking at all 11,000.
I'm looking at all of them. So I thought maybe I need to slow my sales roll a little bit and like amp up my distribution roll. So then it was, there was no Amazon, like order envelopes from Amazon. So I was like, then that was the other fun part, right? Was getting the envelopes and going to the post office every day, making friends with all the post office personnel. Because they have to ask you with every package, does this have any liquid, flammable, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nope, I give you 3 guesses. And the first 2 don't count. They're like, it's probably a book. It's a box of books.
So, I mean, you were basically direct sale books at that point, right? You were distributing yourself, you were selling yourself, you were managing your inventory and moving them. Were you waiting for people to obligate to an order before you would order them, or were you keeping a stock at the house?
No. So the great question. So we're talking about success too quickly makes long-term success difficult, right? So this was me building that muscle of early success. But when I called the printer and they told me, well, here's how much it costs per book if you order 100 books. Here's how much it costs if you order 250 books. Here's how much it costs per book if you order 1,000 books, 2,500 books, or 5,000 books. So 5,000 books of this size. So this isn't the book, but this size. So 4.2 by 7. It was 77 pages. Right. So with back matter, with their front matter and back matter, it was 100 pages. So I could get the words on the spine. $4,000, 80 cents a book.
Wow.
19 years ago.
Wow.
So I was like, well, and so I think it was like 72 cents a book if I'd ordered 10,000. So I would have saved 8 cents a book. But I was like, I can come out of pocket $4,000, not $8,000. Right. Initially without some money.
Sure.
But I wasn't thinking. If I had been thinking, I would have scared myself, which is why I think some people overthink something. And so I was like, well, I'll probably be able to get rid of or sell or give away or burn 5,000 books in my lifetime because I was 34, 33, right? I might have a few years to live. So then I just started calling. And then they were like, well, we'll have these delivered to you in about 3 weeks. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have 5,000 books in 3 weeks. Well, I sold that first few thousand. I sold that first 5,000 within that first week.
Wow.
Because I just started calling. I was just calling people. They were my friends. They were in my Rolodex. They were contacts that I had. And I didn't think too much of it. I dropped my daughter off at school and I'd go home and I just do my coaching calls whenever they were scheduled. And the rest of the day I was just making, Yes. So being grounded. Also, I didn't think it was a big deal because I wasn't a legit author in my mind. I was a self-published author. So in my mind, I was a lowercase W author. It wasn't until years later that someone said, the average book sells between 250 and 500 copies. Right. So for the ones that sell millions, they bring the average up, and the ones that sell 3 copies bring the average down, that sort of thing. I didn't think it was any big deal because I knew that there were authors who were selling millions and millions and millions of copies of books. And so I was like, 11,000? Well, that's good for me because the lowest amount I was selling the book for was $10. So when you take out the cost of shipping, which I think was like $1.80, the cost of the book, which was 80 cents. And that was 80 cents all in, like delivered to me, $4,000 for the book, including the shipping, right? So when I took that out, I think I was making profit between $5 and $6 a book. So you multiply $5 times 11,000. That's not bad.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And like some of the books were at full price. So if somebody just ordered 5, 10, 15, 20 books, whatever, like the thousands of books, those books were $10. Right. And then I ended up having some of them shipped direct from the printer. I was like, hey, can you just take that 1,000 copies and just ship it direct? And then I didn't have to reship it, which was amazing. So there was no cost, right? So my margin was higher. So I made quite a bit of money, but I didn't think it was a big deal. And I just kind of went from there. But it set the standard for me to understand that if I set my mind to something and I was willing to just stay in, because I got an awful lot of no's. For all the people that said yes, there were an awful lot of people that did say, no, I don't really read. I don't really have a use for the book. Right. And I didn't want anyone to do me a favor.
Right.
I don't need you to buy the book to do me a favor. If the book is interesting to you, if the topic sounds interesting to you, if the promise of the book is interesting to you, then buy the book.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I think you had kind of to the point of like managing expectations during a business launch. Almost none of the clients I work with feel like that level of success is even really possible, right? Like they hear about things like that. Yeah. They see people do it, but they don't feel like it's realistic for them to succeed like that. And I think part of it is just, it's unknown, uncharted territory. but then they also are just hard on themselves about any level of success, like achieving anything. I mean, I remember when me and Suzanne Grayman, who passed unexpectedly a while back from, she was one of my business partners. When she and I made our first B2B sale together as partners, we were like high-fiving each other, falling over that little one-time event that took us months to get to. And nowhere along the way to that point did we feel like we had it figured out, that we were meeting our potential or falling short of our potential. I think just having a healthy relationship, that like entrepreneurship is experimentation, and you're going to have to continuously experiment and find what works for you. And I love that you were able to find that, because you had a background in that network marketing, and just your brain was already wired. Like that was a strength, and you were able to recognize that almost after the fact, right? Because you were like, this is just what I'm wired to do. So you went and did it.
Well, that's what a successful person told me to do. Mm-hmm. Call everyone you know and ask them to buy between 10 and 100 copies. And I was like, well, he's the expert. It was Mark Victor Hansen, y'all. He sold millions and millions and millions of books, which is why I didn't think my 11,000 was any big deal.
Right.
And the only reason I stopped was because I was like, I got to distribute 11,000 books. Right. And so I also am a note writer. So I didn't just put a note or a book in an envelope with a label on it and send it off like, dear Lucas, thank you for your order of 3 books. I hope you love the book. Love, Honore. Have a nice day. Right. And so all of that takes a tremendous amount of time for a single mom who has limited time already.
And is coaching.
And is speaking.
Yeah.
And is doing everything that I was doing. But that was my priority. And my dining room table was, my distribution center. And then I remember like at the post office, like if I had more than 5 books, I would send it priority mail. Because then I would have tracking and those sorts of things, right? But it's like I had the stack of that and the stack of labels, and I was printing some labels and handwriting some labels and autographing and signing and all the things. And it was, it was all done by me. I didn't have an assistant. Like no one came and helped me. And I just kind of dug in and was like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I have to do to be successful. And so I'm just going to do it. And I never entertained giving up, didn't take no personally, because nobody said, no, I don't want to buy your stupid book and you're stupid and you're ugly. Goodbye. Don't call me.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think we fear the rejection, and that keeps people from picking up the phone or sending the email or, meeting someone for lunch, is that they just feel like no is inevitable. They don't really see the probability of yes being equal to the probability of no.
Right. And they take the no's personally. They get too high on the yeses and too low on the no's.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly where I was going to ask you, is like, so all things being, considered, you are more probable to get a no, but that no isn't crippling. It's, it's, you just don't take it too hard. Right.
Right. Well, after a while, and this is funny, I don't think I've ever talked about this, but after a while I was gamifying it. Right. Because I would say like, I've sold books to the last 6 people. Like, don't feel any pressure, but don't break my streak. Right. I would just have fun with it. Right. And being an author was, just a cool thing. Oh, you wrote a book. That's so cool. And all that kind of stuff. And it was just a fun conversation. And it gave me an excuse to call people that I hadn't talked to in a while, because I didn't put everybody in my Rolodex. It's not like today where like you get a business card and you've got a stack of business cards, right? Like anybody who made it into the Rolodex was someone that I knew personally. So I was calling people I knew personally. And so it was just an excuse for me to call. And it was not before caller ID, but before like cell phones and before all that kind of stuff. Right. So it was just me calling somebody I knew.
Yeah. And this is, Wayne just made a comment about treating customers on a personal level instead of just being a sale,
Yeah.
And I was getting ready to ask you along the lines of that, if you were doing this today, because I know the technology is a little different, accessibility is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Today, you'd probably have an email list and you'd probably have a contacts list in your phone.
Yeah.
And how would you approach that today? I mean, you wouldn't break out the Rolodex, but would you just start at the top of your contacts list in your phone, or would you go to your email list? Like, what would you do today?
Well, you watch what I do today, right?
Yeah.
So I send an email list out because my email list is curated to be people who are writing books. And so, the book I wrote in January, You Must Market Your Book, is for anyone who has written a book and wants to make more of an income and an impact. And so that book can be helpful to any author. Mm-hmm. I would go through my Rolodex, which is what I still call it because I can, right? I would go through my contacts list and I would say, okay, so is this person an author? Do they need a copy of my book? And now, being on the other side of it and being in the position that I am in, I would give them the book. I would say, I'd like to give you a copy of my book, knowing that the number one way people find out about a book is through personal recommendation. So if I send, because where there's one, there's many. So I know if I send my book to one author, they're going to read the book. And if they like it, they're going to tell their author friends that they know, right? Or someone's going to say to the person who's written and published one book, oh, I want to write a book. I have that all the time. People go, oh, I'm so glad I know about you, because people come to me because I've written and published one book and I did it through a hybrid publisher, a traditional publisher. I did it myself, but I don't really know what I'm doing. And so people come to me and they want to ask me questions. I don't know what I'm talking about. You do. I'm going to send them to you. Right. So I know that they get those inquiries and they can say, well, here's a book that you might like. Right. So I know how all that works. I would be more inclined to give them away. However, when I'm talking to publishing companies, hybrid and traditional, I do say I have a book on book marketing, which helps authors to think about the process of book marketing. And they go, oh, that's interesting. And then I say, would you like a copy? Followed up by, did you get the copy? Followed up by, have you had a chance to read the copy? Followed up by, would this be beneficial for your authors? Does it make sense for us to have a conversation about a bulk order at a discounted rate, personalized and sent to your authors? So you can see I have the progression of the conversation, because if they don't want a copy, end of discussion. Then they have to get it, then they have to read it, then they have to understand that it makes sense for them, then they have to understand that it could make sense for their authors. Does it make sense for their authors to read the book? Does it make sense for the authors to get the workbook? Does it make sense for them to take the course? So I have a whole trail path journey. English is my first language, that people can go on. So would I dial for dollars in the same way now, going through my Rolodex? I wouldn't, right? But I would in a different way be more intentional with the marketing and the ask, which is where that whole marketing action plan comes into play.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of the entrepreneurs that I work with, they're experts in something. They get a lot of their confidence from their subject matter expertise.
Yep.
They're writing nonfiction books. They're launching courses on the same topic. Their business is built around consulting or coaching in that same field. So they have a lot of confidence in their subject matter expertise. But similar to kind of how I felt when I first started, I had very little confidence in my ability to be comfortable with sales, but I had a lot of confidence in my ability to be comfortable with people. And so I had to define success in a better way, because to me, I never looked at a successful thing as being like a good conversation. Like, that just felt natural.
Right.
Right. I was like, I have good conversations with everyone because I enjoy people. And
right. And if you can look at a conversation as a sales conversation,
right.
Or not as a sales conversation, but just as a conversation with a person, it's like looking at someone who is watching something as a viewer as opposed to traffic.
Right.
And you can look at your conversation as a discovery to see whether there's a possibility for something, everything or nothing.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Is it a reason, a season, or a lifetime? Same concept.
Mm-hmm.
And then adding in the factors of money and time. The more the investment, the longer the time. Sometimes money doesn't matter. Sometimes is it the right person or situation? But knowing that everybody has their time, and sometimes their time is now, and sometimes their time is later, and sometimes their time is much later.
Right.
If you can factor all that in and just go, I'm just going to show up to today and see what happens. What's the magic that's going to happen today? Who's going to cross my path? Who's going to discover me? Who's going to discover my message? How can I serve them? Then it's a much more pleasant time. And because I was calling my friends, I was taking the directive of a professional and an expert and applying it to my Rolodex and my people.
Right.
And just going, hey, how the heck are you? How can I help you? And then when they buy a book, I was like, really? This is so crazy. Like, how am I an author of a book that people are buying? Right? One more month, I don't have to lay bricks to feed my kid, right?
You only got 30 days on her, then you're laying those bricks.
That's right. Well, I mean, I've been, 30 days at a time, like, okay. Right.
Yeah.
And so here we are all these years later.
Well, I mean, and I guess part of that, for me, the experience was, I didn't know how to relax about the things that I felt were stressors, right? Like it was tainting my conversations, because if someone wanted to call and talk to me, I was worried about if I was oversharing because I'm passionate about my topic, because I'm confident and happy, and that's what I love to do. Then I was like, well, at the time I didn't have like a whole lot of options for people, because I was young in my business and I had like this one key product or these two key things. Yep. So I always felt like my life was hinging on the success of those two things, to like feed family, keep lights on, that kind of thing. And I feel like as you mature in your business, especially as a content creator or someone that builds product lines like you do, right? Like book, workbook, course, book, workbook, course. As you mature and develop a mature portfolio of offers or products or services or whatever, you kind of get a little bit more confident through other reasons than when you first start. Like at first my confidence was because I was a subject matter expert, but then my confidence became like, even this morning I had a conversation with a potential client and I was like, hey, I could bore you to death with like discussions about all the things, but just know that I've got a little bit of something for everybody. So I know you're asking about my services, but I get the feeling that you might be more comfortable with looking at this other thing, right? Because you're looking for the truthful conversation with people as well, not just someone that says, oh, your services sound great. And I'll think about it and get back to you. You're looking at them, and if you've done this enough, you're like, okay, that is not a yes. And I don't see the confidence in you that like you can overcome whatever barrier you have to getting there, whether it be the price or the time commitment or the type of relationship that coaching or consulting requires. List all the things that an experienced coach, consultant, whatever has experienced, and put those on that board. And you can tell when something's not in place. Right. Yeah. So I think for me, like I was a little bit more, my expectations were a little healthier after I'd had enough time having those conversations, then had enough time with different clients and different products and realizing what fits what people. And it just, it just made me a little bit more like I could just chill out in those conversations. Like there's no pressure. I can help you in a whole different pile of ways, but still being very clear about what those ways are. So you're not confused.
Yes. I just say, I offer stuff on this side. I offer stuff on this side. Where are you? Right? Where are you on the continuum? And if I don't have something, then I will probably have someone who I can refer you to who can help you.
And that could be like really, I found that like over time, I was able to just be a little bit more, I don't want to say more transparent, because I was never holding anything back from clients, but I felt like I was more comfortable saying, hey, look, if this isn't right for you, for whatever reason, here are some options. And if I were you, I would look at them all. Like I always felt in the beginning, like I had to like score a big win every single time. And that's not realistic.
No. And also there's something to be said. So we said scared money don't make money. There's also the aspect of, if you have to convince someone to work with you, you have to keep convincing them to work with you. And that's exhausting. It's like marrying for money, right? You have to earn every dime twice. There's that saying. It's like, if it's all about the money, then it is always all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you can go, this is the fee. Okay, let's set that aside. Now let's get down and like, let's do a book. Let's do a course. This will be really fun. Are they the right person? I take my work very seriously. I do not take myself seriously.
Right.
And so I reread an email I sent to someone yesterday, and it had a typo in it. It had a double word. Like, I wanted to say best time, and I wrote time. And I was like, do I call it out by sending an updated email, or do I just go, yeah, I'm human, I made a mistake, like whatever, maybe they won't even notice, who cares? Right? Like, at the end of the day, I'm a human, I make mistakes, but I take my work very seriously. I don't take myself very seriously. And so I don't get so wrapped up in and I don't have external validation anymore. I have internal validation. So when I make a sale, it's not like, oh, I'm an okay person, I deserve to exist. Right. So I take a yes and a no with the same level of energy. Of certainly like a yes better. I certainly like, I'm wiring you the money, more than I'm going to go with an inferior service provider. And I know in my heart that they're not going to be happy with that process, and they may come back to me. And so I have to fix their book, right? But it's external to me, so it doesn't mess with the inside, if that makes sense. And so if you can set the right expectations, like, I'm going to do this business until it's successful. I know I have a good idea. I know I have a solid idea. I have a solid product. I have solid services. My prices are correct.
Right.
If you can just say, and now I'm going to stay in it until. It's like the follow-up, right? I always say, follow up with someone you know that you can help until they die, go out of business, send you a cease and desist letter, or they say yes. Right.
Even if they say no initially, right?
Well, follow up until they die, go out of business, send you a cease and desist letter, or they hire or engage you. Nowhere in there did they say no.
Yeah. What if they say no, though? You still persist at a certain point in time, right?
I will still say, I have a great newsletter. I have a new book you might be interested in, because someone may have said yes to something else. I mean, I had a woman I met a week after she had signed an agreement with a hybrid publisher for a whole lot of money. And she said, I wish I'd met you a week ago. And I was like, okay. So I still send her notes. I still see her. I still send her new books. And she's like, my next book, I'm working with you. If I'd just been like, okay, fine, you went with that other company, you're dead to me.
Exactly.
Omerta.
Yeah.
Omerta. You're dead to me. Then I wouldn't have another client coming later. And I have heard that she has referred people to me.
That's excellent.
I didn't work with her, but you should. Right. And you don't get that from giving up.
Right.
And so if you just say, I'm going to work on this business, I'm going to work on this product until it works out, knowing, and this always happens with me, always, for whatever reason, maybe it's a flaw in my system, but whenever I come up with something new, the first time I do it, it's always small. The first year of EBM, 6 people. The second year of EBM, 10 people. The third year of EBM, 12 people, right? It's like, and every year my goal has been 20 every year, right? And I just keep growing the right people in the group, because I think also having the right clients and customers is as important as having clients and customers. So you can get someone to hire you and then regret every single time they pop up on your phone. Like, oh, there's Lucas again. Oh, that guy.
He's going to talk to me about curriculum.
Oh my gosh, Honore, like, how many times do I have to tell you what we just talked about yesterday?
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember nothing? Well, Lucas, once I've slept, forget it.
Well, I love that you brought that point up, because I feel like the whole first year is about whether you're going to starve or eat. It's like,
Yeah.
if I don't make this sale, I'm going to starve. And it's like, no. That's not the only conversation you should be having. That's not the only possible sale.
No.
Like, each one is its own unique thing, but it's a piece of a much bigger pie. And I mean, you and I have had this discussion over the two or so years now that we've been, batting around all the different things and conversations, and you helping me with things, and us building EBMC together. And, there's been times where I've had an upside down month in my business, and I can't panic about that, because your business doesn't eat, sleep, or breathe in 1 month.
No.
It's a long-term commitment.
No. And there's a book called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. I know the ghostwriter for that book.
How do you?
But he calls it the entrepreneur roller coaster because it goes like this.
Yep. It's a wave.
What you want is this.
Right.
An upward trend, knowing that some months are going to be fat and some months are going to be skinny. Some quarters are going to be fat and some quarters are going to be skinny. And so the goal is, once you figure it out, well, Q3 and Q4, I make the majority of my money. Then you go, do you want to make the majority of your money in Q3 and Q4, or do you want to put something in place so that Q1 and Q2 are more profitable and you have more income, so that you're not so concerned about this being fat and this being skinny, or vice versa?
Right.
Because a lot of people go, I make all my money over Black Friday weekend. Well, that's a lot of pressure on a 3-day, right? That's a lot of pressure on a quarter or 2 quarters to go, oh, I'm going to make all my money at one time, and then it has to last me all year. And then you're always thinking, is this going to last me all year? And all of the things, right? And so, and I've been through those cycles over all the years where I've experienced that. And then I realized that's why multiple income streams are so helpful.
Right. Because
if you have who is that? Who put their book there?
It's probably Jen putting Darren Hardy's book up.
Oh. Boom, look at her go.
I can't click on the link, but Jen, if you can give us your little magic stars
Jen.
to confirm that before I put it up.
You are just the best. When you realize, okay, so here is when I make money. Well, let me figure out another stream of income to make that can go here.
Yeah.
And make one of those income streams referring other people business.
Right.
That's the whole reason we're here having this conversation, is because I wanted to make sure that people in the Empire Builders Mastermind were able to make money when they don't have any products by selling other people's products. So I constantly am saying, I'd love to refer business to you. Do you offer an affiliate or referral program? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go, tell me more about that. And then I'm able to say, if you refer a client to me, I pay 10% for books, for custom books. I pay 30% for courses. I'm happy to make you an affiliate. I'm happy to send you a red envelope or a wire transfer or Venmo. And they go, what? How do you do that? And I say, I'd rather have 90% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. So if you know someone who needs my services, I'll put money in your pocket if you put money in my pocket. And they go, huh, that's such an interesting concept. I've never thought to do that. And I think to myself, you've never rewarded the people that have sent you business? That's crazy. Right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people haven't been rewarded. And so they don't know what that.
Yeah, it's a brand new conversation. I have a lot of, I have the conversation at least once a week when I say to someone, if you refer business to me, I will send you a referral fee. And they're like, huh.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I want to make sure that we don't end the call, because we only have a couple more minutes left. Well, let me put that link up real quick. This is the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, written by Darren Hardy, who's, by the way, just he is a fantastic author of self-help and, I would say, business-related nonfiction.
Yes, and he used to be the editor of Success Magazine. Not anymore, but he was for a long time. The Compound Effect.
That's one of my favorite books.
One of my favorite books of all time. Yeah.
It's really good. I'm switching
Princess
my audio.
Leia, welcome to the show.
Switching my, so I don't know if anyone noticed.
May the force be with you.
We had I had a glitch in my computer for a moment. And when it did that, I think it shifted
your audio.
Yeah. So anyways, okay. So what I was going to say was, I think that, I think when we initially launch a business, we're not really familiar with what that cycle length is.
Right.
Right. So it took me 2 years to see a trend in my industry with my particular business, because there wasn't really anyone talking to me about that, saying, oh, well, we're just always slow July through August in this industry, hun. Like, there was no one, talking to me about that.
You don't know.
The people I was running next to were also in the fire with me. Right. Like,
yeah,
this is why I think it's really important to have a coach or a mentor or someone that you can lean on that is either in your space or in a space closely related to it, that has been through this before, knows those cycles, understands the way these things work. For me, some of that was just validation. I had observed things, and then I'm talking to Honore, and she's like, oh yeah, that happened, and I'm like, okay, so it's not just my business in July and August takes a little dip.
No.
It's just the way it is with doing customer facing work in creative entrepreneur businesses related to like certain product development. And then I know, like you said, to your point, like I can plan on the low points, right? That's when I'm going to do things that are going to take some of my creative energy, since I'm not serving clients in the same way.
Right. When you're slow, you have a couple of things to do. You want to go find new people to talk to about your services, and then you want to create the things you don't have time to create later.
Right.
If I'm working on someone else's book, if I'm fully enmeshed in doing the 12.5 reviews that I do of every manuscript that I work on, then guess whose manuscript I'm not working on? Right. Anybody else's, including mine. And so when I have quiet times, I'm like, okay, what can I do to creatively kind of stir up the energy and get the energy going so that I generate some new business, right? What is my energy like, and what's the energy in my business like? And then also, I have time. So why would I not either be creating or be quiet? And I think that there is a tremendous amount of time. I'm reading the Daily Stoic, and I got the email today, and he was talking about how Jimmy Carter, when he was elected president, said, you need to start my appointments later in the day. I need time to think and read and pray first thing in the morning. And I think people don't give themselves enough space to think and be creative. So when I'm writing something down, right, it's like I have to stop and think it through for a second before I have a good idea.
Right.
I don't have ideas on command all the time. Be creating or be quiet. Like, give yourself the chance to be quiet. I know when my well runs dry, I need to go take a nap. I need some time off. Like, I've burnt the wick all the way into the wax, and now I need to just go get more wick.
And don't feel guilty about doing that.
No, I took a 2-hour nap yesterday. I had a 3-hour window of time, and I was like, I'm going to go set a 2.5-hour alarm. And I woke up after 2 hours, like it was Sunday. I was like, oh, it's Sunday on a Wednesday this week.
But I mean, how much better were you? Like immediately?
Oh, so much better. I was a million times better. Did my to-do list get finished? No, but here's what's interesting. And I know we're at time, but I think this will be helpful to someone. I know that when I am all the EDs, right? When I have rested, hydrated, exercised, meditated, right? Journaled, all the things, when I've all my EDs eaten,
coffeed,
been fed, coffeed, right? Caffeinated, hydrated, all the things.
Yeah.
When I have done all of those things, I am able to do what it would take me hours to do if I'm making myself do it.
Right.
I can do it in 20 minutes.
Right.
So when I'm tired, I go to bed, whether it's in the day, if I can, or at night. I come home at the end of a day and sometimes I'm like, oh, I've got a little bit of juice left in the tank. But most of the time, I'm like, no, I'm done. I can make myself do it, force myself do it. It will be lower quality and it will be harder and it will take longer. Or I can just go to bed, get some rest. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up. My coffee will be made. I will drink some water and I will be ready to take on the world in such a better way from a better place. And I will get it done 10 times faster.
And that message does not get stated enough when it comes to things that represent you visually or audio based. Podcasting, filming YouTube videos, recording for your courses, anything where you have to like depict your visual or audio presence. You cannot do those things well when you're super tired and you can hear it, you can see it. Don't do it. You can
be successful. Just keep trying.
Yeah. It's like, don't do it. Like you're better off. Like I was supposed to record a podcast yesterday.
Don't do it.
And a couple of years ago, I would have been like, I just have to push through this. But last night I was like, not happening today. And it had nothing to do with me, like it wasn't lazy. It wasn't procrastinating. It was, I just got done doing all the things and my brain wasn't in the right spot for it. So it wasn't going to be worth doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Give yourself the gift of rest, and sleep is a success strategy. And a lot of people will say sleep when I'm dead, or I've got to get all the stuff done, or, the clock is ticking, time is passing. All of that is true. That's all true. But you want to give your best. You can give your best in a few hours when you've checked all the boxes of things that make you happy and that make your engine run. And if you don't do those things, you're a human being, not a human doing. And so if you don't give yourself time to rest and rejuvenate, then we should do a whole live on that. Let's do a whole live on how to be your most productive self.
Amen.
Yeah. Sleep is a success strategy. That is the God's honest truth. I see a lot of people that are just beating themselves to a pulp, and you can watch them age from video to video because they're not right. Because they're not right.
One day you just don't say anything. Just
go and look at somebody that you follow. Go look at a video today on YouTube and go look at a video 5 years ago and tell me if they look like they're happier, more successful, more rested. They might be richer, but they are not more happy. They are not more better, right? They are beating themselves. They're running away from something as much as they're running to something, in my opinion.
Right.
And so they're just not as happy.
But that's a short-term strategy. You can only do that for so long.
Right. Well, you're sacrificing something. You're sacrificing your relationship with yourself, with others.
Like when I was in the military, we used to brag we could stay up for, 3 days to do a mission, but you're done. Like at 3 days, you're done. Like that's it.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be able to do it, but you can't do it forever. You got your 3 days.
Yeah. I think
you're completely useless at that point.
Yes. I think people are capable of doing more than what they're doing. Asterisk, see fine print below. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you make sure that you are taking care of yourself, it is okay to be high maintenance if you are high performance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are high performance, if you have a high performance car, you don't go, oh, well, I'll just go like 100 more miles. We've got 1/8 of a tank. Surely the car will go. I don't need to get an oil change every 10,000 miles. Right? But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Sure. You know what I'm saying is it's like, if you think of yourself as a high performance vehicle,
mm-hmm.
A high performance vehicle has high maintenance standards, and they are done on the regular. You need good food, good rest, good hydration, good things put in, right? No news.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the compound effect, if you read Darren Hardy's book, you'll see a case in there about a guy who was just like his performance went, and it was because of his overexposure to.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. And when something monumental happens, someone will tell you about it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think it's good to be educated. It's not good to be inundated. So
speaking about high performance, girl, look at that hair.
Oh, no. I did shoulders hair and and it's day 4 of what could be you had parental week last week. I have life week this week. There's all the things going on. And so, thank you. Thank you.
I thought the parental thing was I thought that was my problem the last couple of days of that week, but I had a compound thing going on where I was also sick, but refused to believe it because I thought it was just because of the schedule.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm just tired. Yeah. And then I'm like, no, I shouldn't be this tired. I got like 6.5 hours of sleep. And then I'm like, no, I'm just tired. Like, okay, dummy. And then I'm like arguing over a little, like Maddie actually said something. She's like, man, are you okay? Like we were in the car, my daughter. And she's like, you're just making things confusing. I'm like, I'm exhausted. She's like, no, you're not. You're something else, man.
You might want to get that checked out.
Yeah,
Dad.
you might want to get that checked out. It's like sometimes you need other people to point out, like, you're not where you think you are right now, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So speaking of being rested, hydrated, and fed, we need to go do all of those things because we have a big meeting in 52 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So guys, we appreciate all of you. Got a little comment here. Oh, I love that girl. Yeah. Thanks, Jen. If there's anything that you're not going to find in short supply in my family, it's honesty. They will tell you right where you are. Although Tammy does it a little bit more tactfully than my kids do. So anyways, I am very lucky. So guys, thank you so much for following us. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you check out the Empire Builders Masterclass, and be sure to check out the Empire Builders Mastercast on all of your favorite podcast subscription. The show is available in both audio and video versions on Spotify and audio everywhere else. And we hope you guys will click the like buttons, the follows, all the things, and keep coming back for these live sessions every Thursday.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you with us. Thank you. And we will see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.